Maybe it is less known how Michelangelo was accepted as an apprentice in the household of Lorenzo de Medici. Michelangelo Buonarroti was born in Caprese, Tuscany. As an artist, he belonged to Florence, a center of culture and trade, which at that time was moving towards a centralized government under enlightened rulers. And one of these rulers was Lorenzo de Medici. Michelangelo was an apprentice of Domenico Ghirlandaio, the famous Florentine painter. Lorenzo de Medici, also known as Lorenzo the Magnificent, had an extensive collection of antique statues decorating his garden. He allowed Ghirlandaio to use these statues for instructing the most promising talent among his pupils. When asked to choose that talented apprentice, Ghirlandaio named Michelangelo. One day, Lorenzo the Magnificent noticed Michelangelo, who was carving in marble, working on a broadly smiling faun's face. Lorenzo joked by saying that Michelangelo is depicting an old man's face, but he left his mouth with all his teeth, which cannot be true. A man of that age cannot have all his teeth intact. As soon as the Magnificent left, the ambitious Michelangelo struck out a tooth from the upper jaw, waiting anxiously for the next day to see what his master will have to say. When Lorenzo saw the new faun's face, he was impressed by the keenness and simplicity of the pupil, and decided to take Michelangelo into his service. So, from age 15 until he was 18, Michelangelo lived under the roof, and in the company of one of the most prestigious rulers of Europe. Michelangelo was considered a guest of the house, and treated equally with the sons of the house. His duty was clear: to learn how to become a great sculptor, and to bring glory to Florence. In Lorenzo de Medici's palace, people were taking their place at the table in the order of their arrival. Those arriving early had a higher chance to sit next to the Magnificent. So, very often, Michelangelo took his seat next to Lorenzo, many times even before Lorenzo's sons, as the rank did not override the arrival order. And, maybe it was not a coincidence that Michelangelo was so well treated by Lorenzo the Magnificent. The Buonarroti family claimed that they originated from the Counts of Canossa. Michelangelo gave much importance to this claim, and, convinced of his descent, he always felt separated from the mass of artists and artisans. Generally, the claim is considered unproven. However, to leave the matter still open, in 1520, Alexander, Count of Canossa, wrote to Michelangelo, referring to himself as your good relative. Whether a count or not, it is Michelangelo the artist who received the intellectual appreciation he deserved, as perhaps he was the greatest of all artists.